Today we're here to talk about the AfricaBerlinTech Network and particularly looking at the tech trends. Last week we basically launched the initiative to give an idea what is it that we're going to be doing, but I'll also give you an idea if you want a part of it last time. This initiative, the AfricaBerlinTech Network, will run for 2026 until 2027. And the goal is to connect the different African tech ecosystems and share and exchange knowledge, resources, if possible, but particularly to allow businesses in Berlin to find market opportunities in the different countries that we will explore in the continent. We will also explore other countries, but that does not mean specifically that we would have like strong other initiatives in those countries. So I'll talk about our focus countries. So part of this initiative will be to have events like this, events in person as well, to basically connect ecosystems or discuss what is going on in the different African tech ecosystems and what you can take advantage of as a founder. We will also have a network. So this is our network, and this network should have founders, investors, accelerators, talent, and anyone really who's interested in the African market or even just the African continent itself. And last week, we actually created a WhatsApp group. Maybe Imani, you can share the WhatsApp group link in the chat, so people, everybody who's here, who hasn't joined, can go there, and we will just be sharing any updates, any information that we have with you. We also do have a newsletter, and this you can find it on our website. If it's possible to share the link as well, you can also share it. Outside of building the networks, we'll also have delegation trips, and I will talk about the delegation trips in the next couple of slides. And the idea is, after we've discussed about Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, it's now time to take the trip there to actually see how is the market on the ground and what is possible. So our focus countries for this year will be Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, and Namibia. These are some of the largest tech ecosystems that on the continent. Well, Nigeria, Ghana and Namibia are not that large, but they're actually emerging. And there's a lot of innovation that is taking place in these countries. They're also very close to each other, so strategically it makes sense to focus energy on these 4 countries, because in terms of logistics and coordination might be 2 easier targets in one go. And so what we want you to get out of this, if you're a business, is for you to make as much business contact as you can in the different countries that we will go to or we will engage with. These could be also just partners or just connections that you make because of us. For us, in turn, it will be really to measure how many people are interested in this initiative and how many people are actually engaging in the initiatives that we put out there. Again, for you as business leads, I think, well, business contact cannot be business leads, so you can convert the opportunities we are giving you, we're presenting you, into business leads. And so that could be finding your customers on the ground in the continent, finding a partner who can help you establish your business there, and so on. And we also want to see cooperation established between accelerators, universities, and many other institutions. And the whole idea really is to build a bridge between the ecosystems in the countries I've mentioned, and also again with Berlin. So it's very important to know that this is the Berlin initiative. You will see other initiatives that also focus on the entire German, like all the Bundesländer, and not just Berlin. They will have a target to reach any startups anywhere in Germany. Our goal is just to reach out to startups in Berlin because it is a Berlin Senate initiative. Yes, so in terms of delegations, we will go to Nigeria and Ghana between September 6th to 18th. This is because there is a GITEX Nigeria happening in the first week, in this first week of the 6th in Nigeria, in Lagos. And after that conference, then we'll go to Ghana because it's just 1 hour away from each other. And then we either people can fly off from Ghana, or if they have their return also from Nigeria, then we'll return back to Lagos and do that. For South Africa and Namibia, again, we will do the 16th to the 27th of November because there is the Africa Tech Festival happening in Cape Town. And this is usually 3 days. And again, Namibia and South Africa is not very far. It should be a 1 hour flight to get there. And again, if people either have a return from South Africa or return from Namibia, or with that space in between. So if you want to participate, you can mark these dates in your calendar, but we will keep reminding participants if they would love to attend any of these delegations. Okay, so we will take now some time. We've invited Joba to give us some insights of what is happening actually on the ground. I think it's nice to always read and see on the news about the technological advancements in Africa, who's raising what, who's building what. But I think one of the things we want to do is to be able to connect people with actual real people who can actually tell us what is happening on the ground. And Oluwajoba is a co-founder of the Nest Innovation Hub, and he basically knows the tech ecosystem in Nigeria like nobody else. So I think he is the perfect person to be speaking to us about this today. Hi, Joba.
Hello, Kaveh.
Morning. Hi. You entered just at the right time. Yes,
Hi.
I was just introducing you. Thank you so much for making it. And I had just presented our Africa Berlin Tech Network initiative and ended up on the slide. So you are at the right space. I've told people a little bit about you, but I think you'll be so much better when you say it yourself. And after you've presented, we will have like a Q&A session for others to also ask you questions. And I will also have some questions for you. Do you want to share a screen or you'll just talk?
No. I'm just gonna talk through what's happening, opportunities in Africa, what's of interest, specifically also different markets that are really buzzing up. Then happy to answer questions. Yeah.
Super. Then we can go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Then good morning, everyone. And really nice joining this conversation this morning. I always get very excited speaking to counterparts or companies in Germany and in Europe generally about what's happening in Nigeria and pretty much the opportunities. So this conversation is coming at a very good time. I was in Munich like 2 weeks ago at the DLD. And, part of the conversations also everybody's asking and, thinking about is pretty much around this. Yes, Africa is the next place to be. what are the things looking for, what are the things everyone needs to do to actually get into the market. And I must say the first misconception is that Africa is a country or a continent. Yeah, I understand that not everybody believe or think that way, but in engagement in action, that's how people think. And the truth is, Africa is 54 unique markets. And when you think about it that way, it helps you to really appreciate the benefit, the opportunities, the investments, the outcomes that can come from it. And pretty much that's what it is, because it means that even between Nigeria and the next border, there's already language difference. So Nigeria is Anglophone, Benin Republic is Francophone. So as close as those two markets are, it just tells you that even there's a huge difference, just immediately. But in the difference also there are opportunities, which means that if I situate my business, in Nigeria, because it's 200 million plus people and possible customers, I can also serve different closer markets that neighbor Nigeria. So Benin is actually a very, very good, stable market. I keep saying Benin Republic because, again, as close as they are to Nigeria, there's also huge difference, stable power, there, a cleaner environment in all sincerity, a more structured, way of doing things. It also means that if you're in Nigeria, you can also serve another, speaking market, which means a collaboration with like a French company immediately can benefit that kind of market. Yeah. So in that regard, trade is a big deal. So when you're looking at trades, you're looking at opportunities, you're looking at things missing. It also makes it very easy to really scale into this market, because when we don't have some things, it's also an opportunity to serve and provide those services, to serve those markets. Now, there are huge pain points that these markets are having. One huge one is power. There are quite still a number of countries that still don't have power. So it just means that almost immediately you can actually give those people something that you already used to, that easily it makes a whole lot of sense to them, and they can pay for it because it's an upwardly mobile, kind of demographic. That is one. The second thing that is of huge opportunity and benefit is manufacturing. So manufacturing is suffering because a lot of times there's power, but at the end of the day, it just means that when you solve for that, easily you can scale whatever you are doing. If you solve for power, immediately you can set up machinery, you can set up factory, you can develop things that can benefit those markets. You can outsource or push companies that are outside to do your manufacturing, down in Africa. That is there. There are mineral resources that easily you can't find in a lot of places that easily you find in Africa. One of these major things is shea butter, for instance. So there's a ban on shea butter for exports because it becomes one of the critical ingredients to do chemicals, to do soap, and a number of other things. And you pretty much find it in a lot of West African countries, right? Which means that if you have operations, you've situated your business to actually operate from these places, you can play as a local, or you can partner with a local company to serve a bigger market. I understand that we are of the thinking that we shouldn't plunder Africans' resources. Yeah, plunder African resources to benefit other people. But at the end of the day, I feel that the best and the proper way to think about it is co-creation and co-development to actually serve a bigger market. So if I have a product or I run a business in Africa or in Nigeria, more often than not, a lot of the people can't even afford the product, which means that I need a bigger market to really scale and to actually make my business known. And from accident, most of the businesses that have really scaled, that got into the unicorn status, this is what they did. They didn't just create a product to serve the local market. They created a product that can serve local and also a bigger market. Now, bigger here doesn't mean it has to be into Europe or into the US. Even within Africa, it is actually a big market. Which takes me to my third point. Now, there are things you have working for you in Europe. There are things that we've seen easily that is just a given. I went to an event in Geneva, Swiss THP, and they were pretty much. I mean, and it's a community of pharmaceutical companies that are doing things for African market. Swiss THP, so it involved Novartis, Roche, pharmaceutical companies. They develop products for different markets. And what I'm trying to say is there's a need to actually collaborate with Africa service providers, African companies to develop, not develop from outside and give them. And I will buttress the point. So Innovate UK created a program, is around corporate innovation, which says that a company, if they have funds, they can partner with a business in Africa, throw a challenge to them and give them maybe £20,000, £30,000 to solve that problem. And at the end of the day, they're interested in that product or problem, then they can take it off. It's something similar we're doing with Ontanimatum in Munich, which is the branch of the TUM Technical University in Munich. A BMW is like a partner. So BMW will think like, okay, to encourage the engineering or the STEM people in Africa, I have this problem, and it could be any problem statement. They push that problem into like a partner like us in Nigeria, and it's our responsibility to take that problem, look for a researcher to work on it, and at the end of the day, if the owners of the problem, they really like the solution, then transfer of technology can happen. They can bring all this to a database. They can showcase us to a bigger company or a bigger network of people in Germany to co-create and work on something together. So the problem with Innovate UK that they wanted to solve was around, it was a painting company, a paint house painting business. And when they pushed the problem, it was just how to use their wasted paint to turn it into something else, so that they don't just keep turning out paint. It's not all of the paints they sell. And one of the outcomes of it is a business turned those paints into colored bricks, which meant that we really don't just need to now go buy paints. If you can buy colored bricks ab initio, it just makes sense at the end of the day. Now, this is where I'm going. There was now an offshoot of that challenge, because a person saw the paints and started working on chemical combination that can infuse anti-malaria components into those paint formations, because mosquito and malaria is a huge deal in West Africa. Now, that became an offshoot of that challenge because it was a local problem. It's a place-based problem. Are you following? But the person was able to work on that problem because he got resources from different scientists in the UK, different organizations that's partnered to develop, a product to build those bricks. There was an offshoot. Now, why is it so important to partner with agencies, organizations, companies in advanced countries in Europe, businesses in Europe like yours? Because you will optimize and solve for what is your own problem. Mosquito, it's not your problem, and it is not a pain point for you. But when we create this handshake, either a collaboration with a university, with a research team, they're able to use the same knowledge, the same understanding to now start building place-based innovation, things that easily can solve problems in Africa. And at the end of the day, it can become an offshoot or a subsidiary of businesses coming, from Europe or US or wherever. Now, this is the next frontier that is going to unlock opportunity for Africa. Because the truth is, yeah, bad governance, instability in government, slowness to get and to innovate. But we have a very young population that is agile, that is self-teaching, that is able to do a lot of things now. If we meet them at this point and give them opportunities, build framework, push them into infrastructure that is already established, we can build a workforce that can leapfrog anything. Because guess what? By 2050, we're going to be the biggest population in the world, right? Which means that if we don't start nipping in the bud now, we're actually saving a huge problem for the future. So it's not going to be a case of, oh yeah, immigration, yes, we don't want these people. It's going to be a case of when we see the right set of people that meet our needs, solve problems, understand our pain points, can build and solve for us, then they can integrate into the system. And guess what? Countries that understand that are already tapping into those opportunities. Case in point, Canada. Canada created a system where the high class, the working class, the best of brain can actually sink and assimilate into their system. It wasn't a question of asylum. It was a question of, I have this need. I want you guys to come. And this is for this period. You guys can actually work and earn from this society. And when that happens, you don't get people that stay over aimlessly in those systems. They work there, they pay tax, and at the end of the day, they also benefit their countries. Now, while I feel there's a better sell for Europe, is the fact that we have proximity to Europe. We're on the same time difference as we're speaking now. When you gave me the time for coming on, I went to check. It's the same time, which means that I can be having a workforce, the same meetings that we're having. I can have a team in Africa. I can have a team in Ethiopia. I can have a team in Kenya. That this work needs to be done. They work on it. They ship it back. It's seamless. While doing that, you are organically building a workforce in those places, because not all of them are going to be able to travel into the new economies. Once the quality of service increases, immediately they become the ambassadors. They also try to build solo businesses that can actually benefit the countries, where they are. So I feel the same China model in the past is what we need to adopt, where there are people left, went to America, learned, then went back to China to actually energize the economies. The difference now is that there is internet. We don't even need to leave the shores of our country to actually create this bridge to make these kind of things work. And lastly, on this point is artificial intelligence. Now, the next future is a future built on AI. Like it's pretty clear, which means that I really don't need to be teaching or be training these new age people in old things. How do we pick them up from where they are? And one thing you have to understand about the strength of the different economies that we're talking about. Europe, you spend your time, I don't want to say Germany, excuse me. Europe, you spend your time in deciding and in doing things. And a lot of people look at it like, oh yeah, we spend all the time in the world, everybody's moving ahead of us. But you also need to understand the strength in it. It means that you are making sure the things work. And that's why they call it the German precision. It works perfectly, it works efficiently. It's a strength in itself. Now, how do you marry that strength with the agile, with the fast pace, with the blank canvas in Africa? Because a lot of things work fast because there's nothing on ground. So a person is ideating, immediately he gets an idea, easily he can speak to a minister, they can have an agreement, they can sign an MOU, they can hit the ground running. That is what is fast paced. Unfortunately, there's a bit of problem with that, because when you are fast and you also have a country, I'm not going to mention name, that is fast, that can build inferior, it means that a lot of fast inferiors can happen, right? So how do we build a fast pace on a strong structured system like Europe has, that can produce the next frontier of the products, of the services we really want to see? And I think that's the conversation that we need to be having. So for us, I didn't talk about what I do at the Nest. Pretty much that's what we're doing. I schooled in the UK, but came back to Nigeria because I believe We can't just sit from outside and fix the Africa we want to see. And that's why I really love what Black in Tech Berlin is doing. Because it's not just a question like, yes, we are in this market. It's also, we're in this market, we're taking you to the market of the future to really see what is on ground, take them out there. How do we build things that work for them? And I have to tell you that there are quite a number of people already thinking and seeing things this way. And the market is actually going this route, you know. So outside in, yes, huge opportunities for Africa. Intra-Africa, also huge opportunities. There's the African Trade Agreement now that is on the table, where it's looking for how African countries can trade with themselves. We're a young population. We love technology. We're vibrant. We speak English, which means that there are quite a number of things. Language barrier, not so much. Business process outsourcing, where you need a site, you need client support centers. You can actually ship them to a number of countries, you know, in Africa. Government has also invested a lot in technical talent. So GIZ is heavily in a number of these African countries. So building vocation, building technical talent, which means that we just need to upskill them. And at the end of the day, see the number of them that can actually fit in these systems. There are also programs that are also speaking to that, to be honest, that I feel that the best way for them to work, they're already engineering it. So there's a program by GIZ, for instance, around culinary chef, which means that they train in Nigeria and also train in Germany, and they're also learning German, which is the game changer. So they can learn German, they can learn French. So let's start thinking Africa, let's start thinking Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, Senegal, Mozambique, Mauritania, Rwanda, Gambia. Let's start thinking them as neighbor markets that easily we can actually develop and push things into. There's a UK company that their animation site is in Uganda, right? There are companies in the US that their site for customer service is in Rwanda. There's a company in Germany there. I met them this last week, that their same engineering team is in Ethiopia. And guess what? Because the people are very happy to learn. Once you're happy to invest in training, they are loyal. The remuneration based on what you're paying there, it becomes good, and you're happy to actually have a team. It's beautiful. There are also companies that actually facilitate this kind of engagement, this kind of cross-transactional trade. Terra Talent has a team in Africa. There are people we have in Kenya that's already setting up this market entry, you know, for you into Africa. So very happy to answer questions. I'm a friend of the house, you know. Berlin is just 6 hours away from me. Very happy to engage. If you're coming to Nigeria, also very happy to host you. Thank you very much for having me, Kave. I hope I've not spoken too much, and really happy to answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joba. It's always a pleasure. And I think everybody should definitely connect with him beyond this conversation. And if you need any information around Nigeria or the ecosystem in the West African markets, I think he's the right person to get in touch with. You mentioned there's a lot of great things that you mentioned. I also watched the panel in Munich. It was really great. Starting from that panel actually that you sent me, I think I'll share the link here. If you have the link, you can just drop it here in the chat for the others to also watch it a bit later, because I think it's always good to also see what other people that we don't know, what are they talking about and what are they saying. In that panel, and also in here, we talk about infrastructure. Infrastructure is like the whole of Africa. It's not only Nigeria, it's entirely the whole of Africa, except of course for South Africa. And this is like moving goods from one space to another, also electricity stability. So the countries that are figuring out these to stabilize, to have better infrastructure and also having power, definitely the countries that are going to be doing well in the next decade when it comes to Africa. My first question is to you. If I was a founder in Berlin and Germany, what would you advise me to do starting today? if I was a young
Yeah,
founder.
yeah, correct. Okay, I was trying to look. I was sending the stuff on the chat, so I was trying to, so I think the first thing is mindset shift. Like that's the first thing. Unfortunately, we had an older generation that created a lot of barrier between Africa and every part of the world, right? Which made it look like that place which is inferior, things not working, everything is dysfunctional. But truth is, it's also that place where immediately you can start something and get something done. And trust me, a whole lot of people have started seeing these opportunities and moving into Africa and doing trade mission down into Africa. In the past 3 years, I've had like 4 trade missions from Germany alone. From Germany alone. In November, German filmmakers came to Nigeria. Entrepreneurs from Northern Westphalia came to Nigeria last year to spend 1 month. Different, and some of them have signed MOUs. I have relationship with some of them. Different areas of business, tech, doing hardware, power, hydrogen, like different kind of markets, right? So the first thing is change the mentality about what's possible, what's happening in Africa. The second thing, form collaboration. Now, I also understand, and I'm not oblivious to the fact that trust is something huge that has always been missing, that people like us are really trying to build. Trust is currency. Like, trust is tangible, is physical, is hard, is currency. You've lived all your life trusting. If you have train to catch, you know the time is coming, you believe the government is going to spend the fund on tax, you trust, so you don't have a reason not to trust the person next to you until the person proves otherwise. For Africans, it's otherwise. You are not trusted until you prove yourself to be trusted, right? Which means that relationships that build trust, engagement. I mean, Kabe, we've seen ones after we met after a long time, but the mutual trust is there to the extent that if someone is coming to Nigeria, like link up with this person, is going to fix you. That's how trust is built. Which means that we need as many Kabes to accelerate this trust so that when there's ecosystem engagement, collaboration, and handshake, then businesses can happen. People are not going to go into business with someone they don't trust. That's the truth. And because your money is your life, you spend your life getting it, the value, then you don't just want to squander it, right? So I feel for a startup, for someone developing, think Africa. In Nigeria, 200 million people, which means that if you're building a product, you want to test the product, you want to stress test, you want to know immediately if it's going to be acceptable or not. You have a market that immediately can help you to even get a sense of what it is. So for me, I just feel like, it is how to think. Then lastly, it's 54 markets, which means that if it's failing in Nigeria, maybe it's going to work in Kenya. That's how definitely we have to see it to flip it around. Yeah.
Thank you. And my next question before I give the floor to others. On the panel, you are sitting with the co-founder of Zipline and InstaDeep, right? And Zipline, they do drones, drone delivery, and they started in Rwanda. Did I hear correctly that they raised $1 billion US?
Yes, euros.
Oh, euros.
Yeah.
And she said something interesting that she doesn't think that was going to be possible if it was not for Africa.
Yeah.
And that really made me think a lot, because I reflect on that and saying what you're basically saying, yeah, it's quite easy to get started in Africa. There are very little barriers like on your way, like people are willing and open to get started and trying things, whereas on this side of the world there's so many rules and so many regulations. By the time you want to start, you're like, okay, I'm done, I'm not even starting. And I think it's something that we can take advantage of as founders, to go and pilot. You go pilot, as you say, you either pilot in Benin or you pilot in Nigeria, and then you scale it out. Also, you present it to investors and say, hey, look, we've piloted and these are the numbers, these are the metrics. But how easy is that to actually start even with the pilot? Maybe it also depends on how much you're coming in and
Yes.
also who you know.
So it goes back to the initial thing we spoke about. It's trust. Um, interestingly, we still have this love for outside coming in. So
Mm,
that once and also when the people came, we facilitated meeting with them, with the commissioners, the people in charge of different sectors of what they want to do, which is the same thing. Once you have the leg in, the solution you have is good enough. Africa is happy to give you a trial. Like
mm,
that, I see that happen a lot of times. It's really not a system whereby, oh, this person coming from outside, I beg, go and see that now. They have to be like, okay, for this person to actually think about Nigeria or Africa, it means that person means business. Okay, they're always very happy to help.
mm,
Now, the why is also very important is the US market was able to grow very fast because most of startup government was one of their first customers.
mm,
What government gives you is numbers.
mm,
A lot of times, if you're doing, let's say, for instance, you're doing an health product, for instance, and you partner with government. So far, you're not charging government. I've been first, like, okay,
mm,
they're able to give you data access to the first set of people to actually get things done.
mm.
And nothing investors want more than
And numbers.
customers exactly that really tested your product. So you scale the first order. So
Mm,
it means that if you come into a place like Nigeria, you join an accelerator or an incubator, this is the problem I'm trying to solve, this is what I want to do. Easily, we're able to connect you to like, okay, yeah, these are the people you should speak to. This is the collaborations you have. Let these people test your products. Whatever it is, when it's good, then you can take that number to actually go and speak to people outside. But at least you have real customers first. Yeah.
mm,
So collaboration extremely important. Collaboration is good. Also partnerships. And also freemium. I'm going to tell you this for a fact. Premium works like magic in Africa
oh,
because a lot of times people just come with different products that are really not going to work. So
mm,
when you're coming with like, okay, I'm very happy to give you free first. See if you like it, then let's see what's going to happen.
mm,
Because we are communal people, we're experiential. It's at ease. People like to feel. It's in Nigeria, first pay online delivery in Europe when you buy and sell online, you have 28 days. If you don't like the product, you return it.
mm,
In Nigeria was the first time they did pay on delivery for online, which means that someone brings the product to your house, you see it, you feel it, you like it, then you transfer. Now it's not even cash, it's not card. Now it's the nature of the market because we want to feel, we want to see, because then nobody can be trusted, which
mm,
means that it's the uniqueness of the market, but at the same time, it can actually grow organic, like like wildfire. If you
mm,
take Bolt, which formerly Taxify, which is an Estonian company, if you take Bolt in Estonia today, there's nothing like pay cash on delivery. But in Nigeria, when you take it,